Many people buy jobs. They don't buy or build businesses. They build and buy jobs for themselves.
All right, hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Practical Wealth Show. So I'm excited. I have a special guest. I guess I'll tell you the story of how we ran into each other, Miss Brandi Jo Newman. And so let me tell you about Brandi Jo. She's a seasoned strategic wealth architect based in San Antonio, Texas, focused on helping high-income professionals build control, liquidity, protection, and generational wealth. Her tagline is wealth with intention, legacy by design. So she emphasizes no fees, no minimums, aligning money with purpose and leveraging strategies that avoid traditional Wall Street traps. Brandi, is that accurate?
Curtis, that's pretty good.
Okay. And
I'm
so,
gonna feel that.
all right, there you go. I'll send it. So a little research. And tell them what I didn't tell them. Let's back up. So let me tell you a story first, guys. So she's in San Antonio. I'm from Philly. We just would talk about this in the green room. And my first time in Dallas, I was across the hall at another conference, and she was going to this other thing, but I had seen her online for years. Like I hadn't really met her, and I was like, she looks familiar. You know, this is like we're like 20 yards away. I'm glad I had my glasses on. I wouldn't have even so noticed you, and it was like, and I'm like, you're you, right? No, but it was like, I know her. You know, you do insurance, you do IBC, you had a show. It's Brandi Jo, right? It started to come to me as we were talking. You were just looking at me a little bit like I was crazy at first, and then she started nodding, says, "Yeah, that's me." And that was how we met. So it's very fortuitous that we met that way, because I hadn't seen her in a while. And you know, I've always just to say this publicly, I've always enjoyed your thought process. And you know, because she would just get on, she would just do these lives, and it might be like 5 or 6 people. I'm just laying back in the cut listening. I might say something every now and then. So I don't even know if you remember that, but I really appreciate that, because you actually gave me some good. If I look back some of my old journals, I have notes from you. And should I do a live? Should I do, because you were trying to play with how to do that kind of stuff. So I have notes on that, you know, from about like 6 years ago on what should I be doing. So
I love it.
I'm a pack rat and a nerd, right? So, but Brandi, so that's a little aside. That's a little backstory with us. Brandi, welcome to the show.
Thank you so much. Well, and when we saw each other, I was like, you know, you've got to be here for this thing, and then you were there for something completely different than what we were just talking about. I mean, it's cosmic that we ran into each other, and you recognized me, and all of that. I mean, and the thing about, you know, it's no longer social media, it's interest media. You know, you're putting out your ideas, and it's very nice to hear that someone is listening.
I was listening.
Yeah.
And so tell me, let's go back to the beginning, because you were, so I know some of your backstory. You were actually a professional golfer at one point.
I was. Yeah, I was.
And I know you still play, but catch us up.
In my 20s, I went around the world twice playing golf on various tours. I was very blessed to be born into a family that could afford that for me, and passed on an attitude that you just got to live life to the fullest. And so I played golf in high school. I was actually pretty good, didn't get any offers in college. And I went to college for 2 weeks, and I called my mama and I said, this is not for me. And she says, well, what do you want to do? And I said, I really want to get good at golf. And so I spent about 2 years as a amateur playing around in Texas in the Southwest. And then I turned pro at 21 in 1994. And that lasted pretty much about 10 years. And seeing all the places around the world and experiencing that, and then coming back and starting a business. And understanding that, America really is the greatest nation on the planet, and we need to practice gratitude about that and be grateful and know that we're blessed to be living here in this country. The thing about golf is that, golf and money kind of go hand in hand, because you have to have money to play golf.
For sure.
Or you have to be obsessed and take all of your money and play golf. And, I got to basically create an incredible warm market that's global. And I tell people that my degree is in people and culture. I basically have a PhD in those two things, to understand like where people come from, their perspectives on basically everything. And then understanding that, we're never the same, but we are all one. That's kind of, my woo-woo and my philosophy about life, just given the fact that I've seen so many things throughout my lifetime. And when I came back from, just going around the world, I actually moved my home base to Scottsdale, Arizona, where golf pros are a dime a dozen. And so I got to meet, some very interesting people, and, even some of the Hall of Famers today, I got to play golf with them and pick their brain about, playing golf for a living and being a professional athlete. But one of the things that happened was I got recruited right off the golf course to work with a couple of VPs at a wealth management firm. And the recruiting process was basically, hey, you're great with people. I'd like you to play with some of my top clients and get them to refer business to us. And so I played golf almost every afternoon during the winters in Scottsdale. Again, very lucky, very blessed, with people that had money. And I would call people on Monday morning and say, hey, do you want to play golf? And they were like, sure. And I would say, great, you got to bring two of your buddies that we haven't met before. And, I had about a 50% conversion rate back then to get somebody to the table, with their lot of investments or what they wanted to do with their business and their family legacy and all of that.
Right.
These were stock brokers. They were not planners at that time. And, I just moved through that channel of development, and basically it was marketing and people and relationships. And from October to April, I was, doing that and, kind of managing the book of business with them. And then from April till October, I was going around the world playing golf. I met my wife in 2000, November of 2000. So good Lord, it'll be 25 years this month.
There you go.
That we met. Met her, and then we started dating the next year in May. I moved to San Antonio at that time. It just so happened that my club guy was here. My biomechanist was here. She was here. My best friend on tour was here. And my parents were 6 hours away. So it was still a nice buffer between me and my parents. And that was 24 years ago. And I've been in this business for 29 as of last month in the financial services business. And when I moved here, I actually transferred to an office here in San Antonio, and they didn't get it. And it's a major investment house. They didn't understand that it was really all about people. And I became disenfranchised with the business, just with the industry itself. And I had met a gentleman who basically introduced me to Joe Kane, which was my mentor and basically my surrogate father. He's the executor of my will. He basically recruited me, and that was October. Gosh, yeah, October's a big month for me. October 2002, I believe, and Guardian at that time, and then we went to One America. Then I had a great 5-6 years of professional development and very nice cases that were getting done with me. But personally, my business was going this way. Personally, I was going this way, and I took some time off. And then when I came back, this was 22, when I came back to the business, I was really searching for something that I have now. And it's taking me about Now it's taken me about a full 3 years to come full circle to own my own agency. I co-founded Asset Management Capital Incorporated with Margaret Sanders, and we are fully aligned, and we are a sub IMO of Simplicity now.
Okay.
So that's my 29 years.
Change, like, let me ask you this. Let's go back to how hard was it? Because you were in the traditional, what I call accumulation theory, broker, child stockbroker, to more holistic planning. You're using, a lot of y'all don't know this, but the LEAP model, which is partially what I do in a different format, but it's more holistic, principles based. How was that a hard transition for you mentally? Because I remember it took me, like, I started out in Primerica, right? So I was evangelical about buy-term investor difference. It took me 4 years to let that stuff go. Like, I read Rich Dad Poor Dad, and it started to, open my mind up a little bit. So I'm just wondering the transition for you to
it wasn't transition, because I'm still doing the same thing that I started with when I was recruited off the golf course to play golf with people. It's literally about relationships. Everyone who has a little bit of money or a higher income, they know that they need a guy or they need a gal. And so back then it was, let me introduce you to a gal who works with some guys, because everybody knows that they need to put their money somewhere.
Right.
The problem now is that people are still holding on to that belief that as long as my money is with somebody, it's taken care of. And we all know now that that is typically not the case, because you have to have a plan for your money. All money loves structure, and it needs a place to go. And if it doesn't go anywhere, it won't grow. So it has to flow in order to grow. That's Nelson Nash 101 right there.
Right.
But again, I have been this way since I was born. I have not been trained how to sell. I have been basically raised to just be good to people and to provide them with the services that I'm an expert in.
Right. Let's talk about wealth with intention, legacy by design. Break that down for me.
So many people just don't understand that every dollar has a job. It was born to do something. And dollars really aren't created. They're just exchanged between people. And we all know that basically the top 1% in the world, they control 80% of the wealth in the world. The other 20% is, stuck someplace, or the other 19% is stuck someplace. Many people, they don't know where their money is. And so you have to be intentional. Like each day, if you don't have an intention for the day, then what are you doing?
Right.
What are you trying to accomplish? And so I think when people save money, they think, okay, well, it's going to sit in this box or in this drawer or in this bucket, and it's going to make its, 8 to 12% before taxes, and I'm going to be okay. You have to know every single solitary morning when you wake up, how much money you have, how much money you're going to make, and then not only how much money you're going to create in income, but then where is the money going and where is it sitting? And I believe that if you take care of your money like that, if you pay attention to it, if you pay attention, your money will pay you back.
You work a lot with, or correct me if I'm wrong, like high income individuals. Do you coach them to think more like that, or are they already thinking like that? I got to give my money a job.
The majority of the people that I work with, and you mentioned it earlier, they're in the crazy box with us.
Okay.
They look at things completely different, and they are searching for people just like us to ideate with, to commiserate with, to plot out each other's success with. And so, you can buy into masterminds, and automatically you're put into a room with people that think not just like you, but they have aspirations and experience and ideas just like you. They're big and they're hairy and they're nasty and they're, they could, create something completely different through the world. Most people that I work with, they're just tired of the same old song and dance. They're tired of their CPA telling them they need to invest in a SEP, or they're tired of their regular financial advisor saying, hey, we've got this great ETF, you need to look at it. There's no strategy, and there's certainly no ideation about what these dollars can become. And not in terms of how many commas can you create, what can you really create for your community, for, it all starts individually, family, community. You can put your neighborhood in there, your local township, then your state, then your nation, and then the world. That's the level of thinking that most of my clients have. And when they meet me, and I'm really pushing hard in marketing and advertising these days to get our message out at AMC about what we can do for people. And when they sit down with us, like this on a video call, they're relieved. And that's that's kind of the first hurdle that everybody needs to get over, is that, oh, you're actually going to help me. So
I love that. I find that, because I'll go to conferences at other ages, like, what do you do to generate leads? What product do you sell? It's like, it's not about that. Like, people that find me, right? So Jim Rohn says success is something you attract by the person you become. And their goal is work optional income, right? They're tired of the same old. They know that their properties, these people that find me, their businesses already out earn the S&P, right? And so they don't want to, write a $30,000 check to save $5,000. I put in a SEP or whatever, and you lock money down. Most of that advice is bad for entrepreneurs because it sends your money on a one-way ticket away from you. Yet your best investment is the enterprise that you're building. Expand on that. Is that my crazy?
Well, recently I had a client, and he's probably actually up for renewal this month. I don't know if he's going to renew. But he came from, he found me online, and I quickly realized that he's not an entrepreneur.
Mm-hmm.
He works for himself, but he's not an entrepreneur. So he wants to shelter his money. He doesn't want his money to create more money. And when you get to a level of, decamillionaire wealth, it's very easy to create more money with money and not have to toil and trouble and work.
Right.
You really don't have to work. And one of the issues that I've run into is I don't want to work with those types of people because I have to change a complete mindset. The biggest issue that I see is that if you're not making more than 9%, you're losing money, because you can throw money at the Wall Street Journal. We used to talk about the monkey throwing a dart at the Wall Street Journal and you can make money. If your business isn't making 9% year over year after tax, then you're losing money. So I have a new prospect that they're basically trying to buy up a lot of service-based business, personal and professional, personal service businesses. And the cash flow in these is like ATM money. And these people started out with a mindset of, if we're making 5%, if our businesses are growing at 5% a year, we're okay. And I'm like, I'm just not interested in that. I'm sorry. We've got to have a goal of 20 to 30% year over year compounding, because you're never going to get to where you want to go.
So just to clarify, that's off of their businesses. So one of the things, Brandi, I'll talk to people about, I said, look, they talk about investing. I said, well, and I say this out loud because I want, if you have a different viewpoint, I like the pushback. There's no problem. So there's 4 asset classes. Business, which is, to me, is number one. Well, if you look at the Forbes 400, Forbes 1000, all the people on there, they built businesses. They don't get there through the stock market, like, just investing in equities and hoping the market goes up. 2, real estate. 3, paper. But paper is not just ETFs, stocks, bonds, mutual fund. It could be tax liens. It could be, I got clients that do private lending, that do notes, that do life settlements, so paper is a big conversation, but the emphasis is still on cash flow, because you can't eat equity. And to a lesser extent, I told you I have no original thoughts. So this came from Who Took My Money, from Rich Dad Poor Dad and Rich Dad's Guide to Investing. And then commodities, but not gold and silver. I don't really view gold and silver as investing. I view it as money. So I view it as insurance, against the dollar crashing. But, there's agriculture. I know people that buy, I'm trying to get these guys on my show, that you can buy, like for 20 grand, you can buy into coffee farms and chocolate farms and Bailey, that kind of stuff. But they cash flow after about 2 years. And then what's the other one? Oil and gas, like that kind of stuff. Now, a lot of this stuff you have to be accredited, so you got to kind of level up. But those are, like, when people say I want to invest, they're in their mind, they're just thinking about mutual funds, maybe ETFs, maybe crypto, right? And there's the kind of the goal of my show is like there's more out there than that, but you have to educate yourself.
Yeah.
So I just made a statement.
Well, on my website, in kind of the middle section is where the opportunities are, and basically you just listed them all. Many people don't believe. Well, it's 2 things, but it's the same belief system. They don't believe they're worthy of that access, and they also don't believe that they have enough money. And so you just mentioned one of the caveats, or actually one of the problems with basically creating financial freedom for the masses, is supposedly they need to be accredited. That's not true. There's Reg D funds out there that they allow non-accredited investors. Again, you have to find them. I have several available. Is that the suitability is really the question that you have to ask. If somebody only has $25,000 in cash to their name, but they're in debt, $500,000 with a beautiful house, and they have credit card debt, that's not a suitable place to put their money, which you can put in brackets and say that's investing. But there are suitable non-accredited funds out there, which I have a few that are available right now, for people to get into those things where you're going to make, 3, 4, 5, 6% a month, not a quarter, not a year, a month, compounding month over month. So that's the thing, is that many people don't even know that this stuff exists. I didn't know that you could put, $3 of cash into the PUA rider with only $1 a death benefit when I was working for Guardian. That's why we moved from Guardian to One America, because One America had a chassis that would fit. There was also Lafayette Life. At the time, there was also Mutual Trust. I didn't know that. So if you're not seeking knowledge, what is it? Hosea 4:6 in Nelson's book. If you're not seeking more knowledge, then you're just, you're basically going to go away. You're not going to have a chance to get to where you want to go.
Because you have to get better. I tell my clients, if you don't talk to me for like 90 days, I've learned so much more stuff, because I work, I played, I shall relate to the golf thing. I played basketball in college, and how I got into the business, I realized the NBA was not looking for 5'11" shooting guards with a mediocre handle. And then I transferred from the school in Boston to this black college down in North Carolina, and everybody could run as fast and jump as high as me. So it's kind of like Superman going back to Krypton with the red sun, right? I had no more superpowers.
That's pretty good.
Yeah, but I was smart, and I was blessed because I grew up in an entrepreneur family. So I heard from the time I was 7, you don't ever make any money, work for somebody else. So I never got that go get a good job talk ever.
Yeah, I didn't either.
So that was a bit weird, especially in my community, but it was like, okay, so I try to teach our kids, although you got to fight against the indoctrination from college, but it's like, we signed the front of the check. So all this, I'm looking for a job and I hope they hire me. When I had a job, which as long as I ever worked for them, I was like 13 months, you're lucky to have me. So I was probably a bit too cocky, right?
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
but that you need to do. So for our work, you got to kind of, I'm a ball player. So I was like, I already had that basketball ego that's never left me. And so you kind of have to come in like that. And I think that, and so I want to back up to something. So we talked about permanent insurance. I'm jumping around, but the as I look at like the IBC or permanent insurance as storage, as a control, a platform where you hold your capital while you're looking for places to deploy it.
Yeah.
How do you say that? Or what are your thoughts around that?
We're saying the same thing. I believe it's the keystone. So when you lay foundation, when you lay foundation for a home or a building, or anything, you have got to have one keystone that holds everything together. And I look at the permanent whole life insurance dividend paying contract as the keystone to everything. And not just one, several, dozens, because I'm one of these people that I am deep into the craziness pew, is that the ultimate goal is to get every single solitary new money dollar that comes into your personal economy through policies as fast as possible, and then deploy them into other assets. That's it.
Go there a little bit more. I have so many people, they still see it as an expense or resent the fact that they got to pay it back. So am I not saying this right? I just want to hear it from somebody else.
Well,
what's your mindset around? I got to get money. The policy is the first place the money should go.
In my opinion, yes. Yeah.
Why and how?
Well, first of all, you automatically create asset protection and legacy protection. So is that an expense? Maybe to you, but if I didn't show up tomorrow, like if I didn't wake up tomorrow and I was in another better place with Jesus, my family they have literally no more worries about financial responsibility whatsoever, because I've set up that system for them already with trustees, with advocates, and with contracts and trusts. Is that an expense to me? Maybe. Does it go on a line item balance sheet? Yeah, because the trust is paying for it and I get to write it off. So that's number one. But you also have to really dig for people to find out, dig for your prospects and clients to really find out what they really want to do and what they really are trying to accomplish. So many people are so surfaced about money that it doesn't make any sense. And you have to, change their mind and get them to believe something that maybe they will never, ever believe.
Right.
Because it's faith. It's faith in the fact that we have a mutual contract between a company and yourself. And if I do this, they do that.
Right.
With the cash value, with hyperfunding these policies, I love the fact that I can buy, and I'll go to gold just because it's trending right now. Right. That I can take $10,000 out of a policy, go and buy gold, and my $10,000 in the policy is still growing, and then gold is growing at the same time. So really, I've created $2 out of one that are in two different assets. So why wouldn't anyone do that if it really is that easy? Because it is that easy. It's just so hard to understand that something that easy can be that easy.
Right.
Because we've been basically, indoctrinated and brainwashed to say that no, it can't be that easy, but it is. And wealth is relative. I'm not as wealthy as Warren Buffett, but I'm not as poor as the guy, standing on the side of the road at Sunset and 281. The difference is how you use the money.
Mm-hmm.
And if you can't give them other assets to put their money into, that's kind of where they get closed off and they just kind of bracket their money. Like, this is where my money is and this is where it's going to stay. They're not going to borrow against their policy and go put it into commercial real estate or multifamily or oil and gas or luxury hotel brands in St. Kitts, by the way. So, all of that. And I find that I am not going to try and change anyone's mind if they're not willing to learn. They have to actually say to me, Brandi Jo, teach me how this works. Because then I know that they're not trying to find something wrong with it. They just want to learn. But there are several people out there that, they'll find me on Instagram or YouTube and they'll be like, this doesn't work. Okay. Doesn't work for you because you're not educated enough yet to understand how you need to make it work for you. Because everybody's policy system, and it's a system, everybody's policy system is different. I mean, the greatest thing to get anybody to do is to read the damn book.
Right.
Or listen to it.
Because people say, I want to do this infinite banking or how does this work? And I just having a review last night. I said, have you read the book?
Yeah.
Because I can tell, what book is that? You say, Curtis, Becoming Your Own Banker by R. Nelson Nash. So there's other books, but I tell people, look, this is the source.
Yeah.
I like what the Rockefellers do. I know Garrett, but you got to start. They're all derivatives of the source. Okay. Because none of them studied Austrian economics for 50 years, right? Yep. So there's a thought process that birthed this whole way of looking at money. So you gotta, to me, you gotta get in. Like, when I read a book, I don't just read the book. I look at the bibliography of what the authors are. So I have it in my book. I've got a check off of what have I read. The Mystery of Capital, Herman de Soto, the Economics in One Lesson, and the Confessions of an Economic Hitman. So I'm, I told Nelson, well, I was on a call with him like probably 6 months before he passed away, and I was like, Nelson, you've red pilled me, right?
Yeah,
because you just can't unlearn it
with the thing in the back of our head. Yeah, we are.
Yeah, you can't unlearn, and so because. If once you know how it's supposed to work, or how it really works, or how we don't have a democracy, we have a republic, you just start understanding stuff. So, and what I always tell people, it's like, I know I believe the same thing. You can't control the economy at large. You know how it works, but what you can control, and what I focus clients on, is their personal economy, which is what? Your production and consumption as a family unit. That's the only thing that you control, and production is a result of creating value in the marketplace. So we say, I want to make more money. You're not asking the right question, because money's the result. And so they're stuck in the greatest country in the world, and they're mad at this and mad at that. It's like, you don't even understand how the thing works.
Well, and I think people don't know where they are on their own model. So when I sit down and I walk people through their economic model using Leap, and it's just one sheet of paper. I don't use the calculators and all that kind of stuff. I do to illustrate cash flow, but I don't go through the entire thing. I just like the one piece of paper that says, this is where your money is at, and this is what is going to happen if you keep this money where it is. And most of the time, people don't understand that there's a wall. And it's not a fence. There's a wall. It's like the Berlin Wall. You're either on this side or this side. And most people are stuck on the side where Wall Street and the government are looking down on them. And then there's people like us and our clients. They're on the other side of the wall, beyond Wall Street and beyond government. And those two entities, in and of itself, they have nothing to do with what we're doing with our money.
Right. Which brings me to something, just maybe trigger something. So let's talk about leaks, tax drag, and efficiency. Okay.
Yeah.
One of the things
Yeah.
that I think the brand promise of my firm, Practical Wealth, and we have a process called the Money4Life Blueprint, but
Mhm.
basically our philosophy is that there is more opportunity to minimize the losses in your life than there's trying to pick winning investments. And
Mhm.
so, we start with, you have leaks in your bucket. Let's plug the leaks. Talk about how you say that, or your philosophy around that.
I start with structure,
Mm-hmm.
entity structure, because I don't believe that anybody should be basically getting paid as much as possible personally.
Yes.
I think it should be filtered through different entities, LLCs,
What if for
tax.
a W-2? Like if you're being a high paid, well, you know, not even a high paid, just, 100, 150, $200,000 a year as a
Yeah.
W-2. How would you do that? Let's talk about that for a second.
Oh, it has to start with a trust. They need to have some sort of a business, and if they're like, well, I'm an engineer working for, like I have a client that works for Lockheed Martin.
Mm-hmm.
Um, he's like, I don't have a business. I said, you can consult.
Mm-hmm.
You can have a blog. You can write a white paper. You can speak.
Right.
That is a business. You have to have some business that gives value to a customer, and that is a business.
Right. Now you can
And
shift your income over. You can start. One of the easiest ways for W-2 people is through
right,
income shifting.
and that's
Through a
the
business.
thing
Mhm.
with MLMs. I'm not a big proponent of it. I don't even like like Primerica. I don't even like MLMs as a form of business, but it really is easy to plug into vitamins and skincare and all of that. And hey, you've got a business. And
Right.
therefore you can write off part of your house. You can write off part of your utilities.
Right.
And yeah, you need an LLC, and then you need to get it taxed as an S corp. An S corp is not an entity. It's a way to be taxed.
Hmm.
An LLC is not any kind of tax savings. It's an asset protection entity. Then you can get into C corps. The biggest thing that I see is having all of your personal assets being owned by a trust, especially your home,
Mm-hmm.
especially if you're divorced and you have a blended family.
Hmm.
Um, the one thing that I see with people is that they are making the most amount of money in ordinary income, and so therefore they're susceptible to the top marginal tax brackets.
Right.
Businesses are basically capped at, it depends on what your tax classification is, but they're basically capped at 15, 20, or 22.
Right.
And everybody is going to pay taxes. Don't believe these guys on Instagram that say, I pay zero taxes. You're paying something, you're paying a percentage of, but I would also be very wary that if you're not taking a reasonable salary from your S corp, you are super, super targeted to get audited no matter what administration is in the White House, because that's algorithmic that they're using with the IRS. You have to be paid a reasonable salary by the company that you work for. And it just so happens that you are also an owner of the company that you work for. So therefore, you can receive most of your income in the form of dividends, bonuses, deferred compensation. I met with a guy yesterday. He's super new. So he came through. We've got and this is one of the biggest things that I'm proud of with AMC is that we are not doing the traditional friends and family model of getting business. We're using social media, interest media. We're very much into AI and getting all of that deployed. And one of the people that have come through our experimental funnels, he already has two what he considers IBC policies. One is with Transamerica. The other one is with MetLife. He's been through Leap with another agent. This was probably 6-7 years ago. And so he actually talks about the conversations that he has with his CPA, that every year the CPA says, so you're still going to put more money into those crazy policies that you have. So that right there tells you that this guy is being pulled in two different directions, because he looks at his CPA as one of his advocates.
Right.
And he also pays him a ton of money. And I'm like, where's your trust? He's like, well, that's one of the things, that I read about, because he's read all of Garrett's books. He's read Nelson's books. He's read The Pension Idea. He's read Hayek, and he subscribes to Lou Rockwell's newsletter.
Oh, he's all the way in.
Like, how do I do that? So I send him a link. Fill this out. Click this button. Pay for it. Then you just have to go down to the courthouse and file it. And then we're going to transfer assets into the trust. Therefore, when you have this trust in place personally, now we can take your business, and then your business can pay you in the form of executive compensation.
Mm-hmm.
But how does that help my retirement? And this was one of the things that I had to tell him, because he actually says the words, I just don't see how these policies are going to help me retire. I said, well, you only have two, and they don't have very much money in them. So you're right.
That's right.
You need more. You need to take every single solitary dollar that you have, and you need to plot it and plug it into as many policies as possible. Oh, and we also need to talk about scaling your business, because right now you are the business. We need to multiply you. We need to duplicate your business. That's something else that is part of my consulting work that I do, is that many people buy jobs. They don't buy or build businesses. They build and buy jobs for themselves. So he says to me, well, what is executive? I said, look, have you never heard about deferred comp packages? When you're reading or listening to CNBC, they talk about hiring a new CEO and he has millions of dollars in deferred comp. And he's like, oh yeah, well, that deferred comp, that's life insurance. That is boring whole life insurance that board has now said, we want to hire this guy. We're going to give him $12 million in deferred comp starting at day one. And when he wants to retire, he's going to take policy loans, which are non-taxable.
Right.
So he's like, yes.
But that doesn't work unless you put a lot of money in. So you can't do that. Like, people sell this tax-free retirement thing with, you can do $500 a month. That's not going to work. Like, you got to really seriously put some money away.
Yeah.
Daggone, I had another thought. So it's funny because
going back to what you said earlier about what we can't control. That's the thing. So now I have to peel back the layers with this family to say, where is your money going?
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And it's, what do you really want to do? Do you want to travel as much as you can, but also build wealth while you're doing it? And that's,
right.
That's a little bit of pie in the sky, but it's like, what are we really trying to accomplish, and where is our focus? And how
I think that's the first step, because money's to do something, right?
Right.
And allow
me to say this. How disciplined and determined are you to accomplish your ultimate goal and your deepest driving desire with your family?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you got to start with that. Mm-hmm. A lot of times when you look at your model, it's like, okay, I want to become financially free. Okay, really? Well, all your money's going into qualified plans. You don't have access. They're not designed to cash flow effectively, and you don't buy anything that sends you a check. So, and your hope, the markets go up, right? And as your foundational strategy, I don't think hope is a good strategy. Yeah. And so we want to build certainty, liquidity, use, and control. So we are both proponents of that. Brandi, I could talk to you all day. I'm just looking at, I want to be respectful of your time. So I'm kind of bouncing all over the place.
We could have a quarterly, and we could do 4 parts a year. That would be good. Because right now we're just talking about accumulation with people that really want that beyond Wall Street, beyond government control. and then we can get into how do we turn that into tax-free cash flow.
Yeah.
Many people right now, they're using Roth conversions to, pay taxes because, just look at the top marginal tax brackets historically, 94% in 1950, I think, 94%. You have to be crazy to not understand that taxes will eventually go up.
Absolutely.
Or the expanse of the tax base is going to widen. Like in Texas right now, you don't get taxed on your haircuts or personal services.
Okay.
That could broaden. And so therefore, instead of it being, I think in Texas, it's 68% of every dollar that we earn is taxed in some form or fashion. What if it goes to 80? What if it goes to 90? Plus on top federal income tax, the brackets, we either add more brackets or we shift to a higher bracket environment. It's coming. It's just coming. A matter of.
And it's funny because so the event you met me at where I was leaving, I had just finished a 3-day, it's called it was Excel Empire University, but it was basically a tax planning firm that I became a CTB, a certified tax business advisor. So it's like, I don't do them, but I identify.
You refer.
Who
and
refer them to the people.
Yeah.
And, so because I've always looked, tax your number one wealth transfer. And, people like, I remember when I was really like doing bioterm investor difference, max out your 401k. And then people will say, I remember people from the institution would say, well, you're going to be in a lower tax bracket when you retire. No, you're not. Yeah. If you're unless you're planning on being poor.
Yeah.
Because you don't pay less tax because you turn 65, right? Yeah. It's based on income. And it's amazing how many, this is what I don't like about part-time, like financial people, because you can't do an MLM. It's too many moving parts.
Yeah.
And so I like MLM, but I don't like MLM in financial services, because it's you ain't going to be here 6 months from now and you put them in all these explosive things that need to be babysat and you're gone. And you don't know how they work in the first place. So I'm not a huge, I'm not a huge fan on that. I'll keep myself, I'm not trying to pick a fight. So don't call me. And also, let me just put our little disclaimer there. We're not giving investment or tax advice. Seek out your own people. Here's the main thing I realized while I was going through my training was that they called them red light, green light advisors, right? So most CPAs or your tax professional, one of the magic questions that we asked some, Brandi Joe, is when's the last time your tax advisor called you and said, hey, I got a few ideas on how to save money on taxes? And I've been asking that for the last month. They never get that call. And so even when you think you're getting tax planning, you're not. You're getting tax preparation. You're getting compliance, right? And then what I realized, let's say the top line, before you even the money hits your 1040, there's like 20, 25 things you could do. And so I was going through my little book when we were describing, here are the different strategies. And out of the 25, I was like, I've only heard about 3.
Yeah.
And
I've got a list of over 100 that I've collected over the years. Yeah.
So there's a lot. I mean, and everybody doesn't qualify for everything, but it's not one trick play. It's like you got to, look at holistically and see what makes sense for you and your situation, your business, your family.
And I also believe that the financial services industry is consolidating with the fact that there's more collaboration going on.
Yeah.
We as a firm, we just partnered with, very similar to you, with another tax firm, national firm. I don't know if I can say it. I don't know if we're official yet, but we're referring most of our clients to them and they get it. And they actually advertise and market and spread education just like we do. Like they are they are in the crazy pew with us. And
Like,
it's only a matter of
that's what
time
I'm talking about. It's all education based, and
yeah, I think it's only a matter of time before more and more CPAs get on board with, I mean, this is probably unfair, but just stop being a bean counter and start being a visionary. We need more CPAs that are visionaries. And this national firm that we just signed with, we think it's going to make a big difference, especially with our clients.
That's fantastic.
Yeah.
So Brandi Joe, we might do this once a quarter. What didn't I ask you that this is my catch-all, right? what didn't I ask you that you want to make sure you get out in this interview, and tell them how they can follow what you're doing?
Well, we covered the, we covered what my mother says. We covered the high spots.
Okay.
The biggest thing that I want to share with everybody is that you don't have to settle for anything in life, but especially with your money. Your money can create more money if you will just study and practice, and then get into teaching your friends and your family how you're doing it. The biggest issue right now, I think, with society, I mean, other than the division that's going on, is that many people don't talk about their money, and somehow it became taboo. But yet, we can shake our personal assets on Instagram and TikTok all day long, but we really can't talk about money in a sense of, this is how I built this. And many people are ashamed, and you shouldn't be ashamed of what you didn't know. So that's one of the biggest issues. And I am an open book. I have an open door. You can go to my website. It's very easy, brandyjoenewman.com. You can click the button to schedule just a simple phone call with me, and I will talk you through everything. I will share everything I know about not just having money, but having money, growing money, and then realizing that there has to be a certain point where you need to transfer that wealth to the next generation, or to entities or organizations that are going to take care of the next generation. And I think that's that's really what our purpose is here, especially in the industry today.
Yeah, I think so. I think that people, they don't know what they don't know. There's a lot of ways to.
And it's not their fault.
Yeah, it's not their fault. It's not their fault. It's on purpose. Who told me this? Leonard Rainier said, we are surrounded by entities that create the what is this? Now see all these, I have all these quotes in my head. That create the situations, control the outcomes, so that they profit off of. And so they profit off us playing the money game, because just playing it creates transfers to the institutions of our wealth. A transfer, meaning when I say transfer, guys, it means money leaving if you pay a tax you didn't have to pay, because you understand that's money leaving your checking account to the Treasury Department or whoever. And so if you could legally avoid that, then that's money in your pocket. And that's the whole, and you don't understand, like, you're doing not just one time, you're doing it every year. So you literally give away 1, 2, 3 business owners $5 to $7 million of money they're losing unnecessarily when you add that money up over time at interest.
Yep.
And
that's not LOC. That's not lost opportunity cost. That's bottom line. That is bottom line revenue that they're not seeing, that just basically disappears like the sock in the dryer.
Oh, I love that. Okay.
Yeah.
I see. I say stuff because I want to be corrected. So always or improved on what I'm saying. So it's all good. So all right, listen. Oh my God. This has been a joy for me. Just to talk to somebody that's smarter than me. All right. So
well, I appreciate that, Curtis. And I mean, this is, again, like I said earlier, this is cosmic. This is meant to be. It's very, very cool to be here with you. And I really appreciate you giving me the time on your podcast.
Yes, ma'am. So that's go, guys. So this is a writer down. You need to go back, listen to this again with a pen and take some notes, and then reach out, find Brandi Jo on LinkedIn, on her site. Give us your site.
BrandiJoNewman.com.
That's pretty
It's
easy.
Brandi with an I.
Brandi with an I. And all right, I'm going to let that be the last word. Go out there, have a prosperous day, everybody. And we will see you soon. Brandi Jo, thank you again.
Thank you, Curtis.